the story you tell yourself is super important. These stories are formed from thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, things that have happened in your life that you are now associating with part of your identity. However, if you ask yourself, who are you without those circumstances? And if you think about it, most of us associate what we've been through as part of who we are. But the reality is that those were just experiences that we had to go through in order for us to learn. What's going on, my walking manifestators? I hope you are having a fantastic day. And in this episode, I really want to dive deep into frequencies, understanding the energy that you are putting into your existence, which is actually allowing you to manifest. So, with that being said, I definitely want to start with a few key points that I have found extremely helpful in my journey that have allowed me to understand how I can elevate my frequency. So if that's something you're interested, definitely stay tuned and let's go ahead and get started. Now, in order for us to really understand frequencies, I want to talk to you about the way that our neurons are connected and how this all plays a huge factor in our vibration. Now, neurons make up your brain. Now, the brain performs a neurological function, which is going to be sending information from one side of the brain to another side. Now, we're going to have different brain waves. And in this case, you can learn to tap into these different states, okay? They're frequencies. Now, brain waves are going to be in different states, and it's unlikely for you to stay in one specific brainwave for an extensive period of time. However, as you continue to do meditation, this is going to actually change. And a few of the notes that I took from this book that I am reading, and if you have not read Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, I highly recommend you do. But if you have not, then that's totally fine because I'm going to help you have a little cheat sheet here. And essentially around age 12, we have completely transitioned from having our alpha state of mind into what we have now developed into our beta waves. Now, this is when we start focusing more on our external reality. We focus more on things that are happening externally versus internally, which this is when we become very self-conscious, we become very judgmental, opinions of others tends to really affect us, and overall we forget who we are. Now, the beta is definitely going to have different frequencies in which it is measured. The first is going to be your low range, second would be your medium range, and then of course the high range frequencies. Now, just so that you can also understand the difference here, low beta waves are going to be between 12 to 16 hertz. This is when you're like in a relaxed state. This is when your external body is not really perceiving any threats, okay? Now, medium range beta is going to be between 16.5 hertz to about 20 hertz. This is when you're more cautious of your outer world, but not threatened by it. So as we continue to see the difference, we go into the high range beta, and this is going to be about 20 to 28 hertz. Now, this is when you're significantly stressed, significantly depressed, you have anxiety, you are in essentially a fight or flight state. And as we all know, that can be very toxic. We talked about it in one of our last episodes where what happens in this state is also how we have been conditioned to be in our reality. So in our primitive times, this is essentially when we were, hunts and gatherers, and all we were worried about was either going out to hunt or we were going to be the prey. Now, for most people, when you are unconsciously at that level of frequency, when you are in that high beta between the 20 to the 28 hertz, this is essentially causing you stress. And a lot of people live their life in that fear, live their life thinking of the worst case scenario, constantly worried about what could go wrong, right? And as you continue to go into the next series of the waves, it's going to allow you to look at alpha waves. This is going to be between 8.5 to 12 hertz, this is when you're doing something creative, something that takes little effort, such as brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, things that are very natural to you. Now, alpha has created a bridge of the subconscious and the conscious mind. Now, this is also displayed at the beginning of meditation. This is when we disconnect from our external environment and enter our internal world. Now, our cortex, I botched that word in my last TikTok, so I was hoping that wasn't going to happen, but it hit, so it's okay. Our neurocortex begins to slow our brain waves to alpha frequency. Now, although you're aware of your external noises, you're paying more attention into your internal voice. Now, this is also a very key part of meditation because a lot of people tend to worry about what it is that is happening in their external reality when anything is going on in life. So if you heard a bad news of somebody in your family, if you had something happen in sense of like maybe somebody that you care for, typically you allow any of that external noise to take control over your internal bliss. And I know for the longest time, that was exactly how I would operate. If anything was happening in my external reality, automatically I would shut down and I would react because that's how we're designed by nature to be. We react to situations. And the reason why I wanted to talk about these different waves is because as you allow yourself to tap into meditations and really the benefits of them, because there's so many people out there that think that meditation is just like some taboo thing that doesn't really help, or they think like that's just for females, like that's just not something I would see myself doing. But the reality is that there's studies that have shown how much this truly helps you by tapping into these frequencies and being able to control your emotions in actually becoming the observer of these emotions. So this leads to the last one, which is theta state. This is between 3.5 to 8 hertz. This is when your mind is awake, but your body is asleep. You're experiencing waking dreams. Theta is essentially the doorway to your subconscious and superconscious mind. This is when you get inches of just overall insights, you get hunches, inspirations, you passed to this superconscious mind of information that is readily available to every single one of us. Now, delta waves are going to be between 0.1 to 3 hertz. This is when you have officially connected to your superconscious, your unity. The delta waves have been measured in the book that I was mentioning to you guys, Becoming Supernatural. They were talking about how some of these people were able to revert some of the damages that have been done to their body, things that were happening that other doctors were deeming as, I am sorry, you only have a few weeks to live, to them actually being able to go into this unconditioned consciousness that has allowed them to completely change the vibration that they have internally and in turn be able to change their external reality. Now, gamma waves are really interesting. This is between 100 to 30. Well, I should start with 30 hertz. So 30 to 100 hertz when we're experiencing high energy. This is essentially when you're in a state of compassion, of love, ecstasy. This is when you are in alignment with what you're doing that's truly being your purpose. Now, all of these things are super important because we are constantly creating frequencies. We are constantly in a state where we are radiating energy. And as we've talked about in the past, the story you tell yourself is super important. These stories are formed from thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, things that have happened in your life that you are now associating with part of your identity. However, if you ask yourself, who are you without those circumstances? And if you think about it, most of us associate what we've been through as part of who we are. But the reality is that those were just experiences that we had to go through in order for us to learn. And I believe, and many, if you guys have not read the book, The 3 Waves of Volunteers by actually, this is by Dolores Cannon. And she was talking about how, just so you know, some back context on her, she is a past life regression therapist, and they have conducted studies from different parts of the world. This was not something where it was conducted simultaneously with other people in that same city. It was random places, random individuals, and they had a past life regression, a session. And essentially, some people were saying the exact same thing as what they experienced in now being connected to oneness. And essentially, a past life regression is something that has happened again in your past life, right? Something that your super conscious, your actual subconscious mind has in that side of your brain, but you don't really think about that because that's just something that your mind now in this 3D reality does not comprehend. So it was very interesting because they were sharing how they have had situations in their life that have happened that essentially have taught them that in this life, we're here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to evolve. And when you choose love, regardless of the things you've been through, you vibrate at a different frequency. And this is something that truly took me understanding in order for me to let go of some of the toxic, not only behaviors, but also perspectives that I had. Because for the longest time, I felt that the only way you're going to get ahead was by making that way. And whether that was in the best or in the worst, it did not matter. You needed to do what you needed to do to evolve and grow. And that definitely came with its own fair share of ripple effects because you lower your vibration to such degree that you don't feel complete. And I remember in those times just feeling completely disconnected. And when I finally got into understanding a little bit more about what we're doing here and just really asking those questions that I felt really were being provided as stepping stones into like a higher consciousness. One of the most interesting verses that I've come across has been by Mark 11:24, and it says, "Believe that you have received it and it will be yours." And you see, a lot of the times I've realized that as society, we have been essentially molded to say, you're right, you're wrong. If you believe in this, then we're in alignment. If you don't believe in exactly what I believe in, you're wrong. And we essentially deem our version of whatever it is that we've learned as the only truth. And a lot of the times we forget to really understand how important it is for you to understand different perspectives because it helps you not only understand the other version of things, but actually grow. And there's a lot of people that feel like manifestations is something that is evil almost. They're like, oh, you should not be thinking you could just manifest things into existence. That is wrong. And how could you believe so? But it even says it in the Bible. It talks about it. Believe that you have received it and it will be yours. And for me, I don't know if you guys have ever played that game Telephone, but I always find this analogy to work quite well for me. But as if I mentioned something to you right now, right? I told you right now, hey, this is like how I see this situation playing out. And you go and tell this exact story that you just heard at this very instant to a family member. And you go and share that with them, and they're listening to what you're sharing. And then they go and share it with somebody else. And then that person shares it with somebody else, and you get the point. Now, the reason this is important is because the more times that this message is essentially being translated from one person to another and shared to one person or another, what is happening is that this message is changing as time is happening. And I think that for most of us, being mindful of the fact that there's certain messages that are going to resonate with you when the time is right. There's certain messages that are going to make sense the moment that things are meant to be discovered. I just don't believe that we should be so focused on deeming somebody else's perspective as wrong and deeming ours as completely right. And this is something that in like spirituality, as far as like growing and evolving, I find that one of the most interesting things is when people practice whether it's a religion or whether it's just like a practice of spirituality and being connected to oneness, they're very quick sometimes to judge others based on how they perceive certain things. And I feel like that's part of our ego, right? That is part of a human trait within us, that we have this like need to want to be right, that we're like deeming anybody else's perspective as completely wrong. And that really puts you in a limiting belief system. It really lowers your vibration. You see, when you're manifesting, you're doing it all the time. Whether you realize it or not, you're constantly manifesting. You're manifesting when you wake up and you think about what your day is going to look like. You're manifesting the moment that you are thinking about what it is that you got in that grade that you submitted for the assignment, or what it is that your boss is going to say. You're constantly manifesting. Manifesting is a form of placing energy into a thought. And it's been proven that we carry energy. Everything around us is energy. And the reason this is important is because I truly have a innate calling within me that just wants to further understand how, as human beings, we can learn from our experiences that we have encountered and just be a better version. But not only a better version for ourselves, but truly help others evolve and help others grow into a better understanding that there's a different way to go about things. You see, there's so many times that you go to a restaurant, you see the person that's helping you, and instead of showing grace and maybe thinking like, man, this person maybe is not having the best day because of whatever they have going on, simply because you see them give you attitude or maybe not greet you in the best, you already assume that that person is pretty much an a-hole, and you act toward them a very ugly way. And then in turn, that person gives you more of that energy. And then it's like this like constant emotion that's just like not ideal. What I found is whenever somebody's acting like that with me, I take a moment to really understand that whatever they're going through is not personal toward me. As humans, we're so quick to want to make everything personal. We want to find somebody to blame when something goes wrong. We want to find somebody to blame when things are not going exactly the way that we pictured it or planned it. We're very quick to want to point the finger. But yet, in reality, that is part of the ego, and that is part of what's keeping us in a lower vibration. When you exclude yourself from that and you say, what can I learn? What is there in this moment that I can show to myself and to this other person that does not know me that could actually help me evolve at this very moment based on the choice that I'm going to do next? And it is surprisingly beautiful whenever you see somebody giving you attitude, but yet you don't give attitude back and you're just very kind and mindful. And they just actually change their energy with you. They're so used to getting treated a certain way that they don't expect anything different. But when you're that person that shows grace to somebody in their life, do you know how much of an impact you can have? And why is this important? Well, because it all comes back to you. If you're constantly in a state of me, what is there in it for me? What are you going to do for me? You get more people in your life that are actually at the exact same vibration. They're not worried about what can they do for you? They're worried about what is in it for them. And I think that that's been such a realization for me in this journey, because believing that I have already received all the blessings allows me to continue to receive more blessings. Acting from a state of abundance to others allows me to continue to receive more abundance. Acting from a state of being happy for somebody else that's doing amazing things allows more of that to actually come into fruition in my own life. And I have seen it time and time again where I've seen other people and their energy. And sometimes there's people that instead of asking another person that's doing really well, like, oh my gosh, congratulations, I just saw you did X, Y, and Z. Like, how can I do that? For the most part, they will, and I'm not saying all the time, okay, but for the most part as society, it's like there's like this like unspoken jealousy and unspoken envy where it's like, why are they achieving all of this and why can't I achieve this? Why is it that they're doing so good but I can't? And what you just created in that very moment is you actually created a separation between what you could have and what you're thinking you don't have. And by being jealous of somebody else, you're just bringing more of that energy into your own life versus just being genuinely happy for somebody else and just knowing in your heart of hearts that whatever is going to happen that is meant for you is going to happen. And this is something that obviously comes with time. As we've talked about in one of the last episodes, like our pathways in our brain are so preconditioned to automatically defaulting into negative thoughts, automatically defaulting into assuming the worst in people or assuming the worst in a situation, that creating those new neural pathways is going to take repetition. It's not going to be a one time, just like, oh, I am so happy and I love myself, to change the years that you've maybe told yourself ugly thoughts, maybe of unworthiness, maybe of feeling like you're not good enough to other people, or whatever it is that you're going through in your life that you just feel maybe you're not actually measuring up to what you want. And these are the things that you really want to focus on in your journey of elevating your frequency. Find 5 things that you are truly empowered by that just really bring that light to your eyes, and make time for those things. And don't allow yourself to stop whatever it is that you want to do simply because you feel like you don't have enough time. That was like the biggest excuse for me. Well, I don't have enough time to do this because I'm so busy doing this other thing, and I don't have enough time to, grow this other aspect of my life because I just need to focus on working. And life is so interesting because it will literally take an experience to completely show you how quick things can be taken from you. So for the longest time, I was really, really consumed with just wanting to grow my income that I was generating in real estate. And I was really focused on just like going to the gym, working out, and making sure that I was, obviously taking care of my boys and making sure that I was attending to my clients, giving the instructions I needed to my assistant to keep the ball rolling, you name it. And one day I was very tired. I was extremely tired, and my body was literally telling me like, we need to rest. And I didn't care to listen. I was like, no, like, we don't need to rest. I want to go and, just push through it. I'm going to be fine. Well, needless to say, I did not listen to my body, and I went to the gym that day. Well, the next day, I could not get out of bed. I literally had the most excruciating pain in my back. It was in my lower back, and I could not move. Like, I could not move. It was a week of torture. And I'm a very holistic junkie, so I did not want to go to the doctor and get a bunch of tests done, because in my heart of hearts, I knew this was a way for my body to tell me you needed to slow down. You didn't want to take a time to rest. Well, I was going to make you take some time to rest. And this is the importance of being in tune and being connected to that higher self, and understanding that there's certain things that you need to do to ensure that you're taking care of yourself. And your happiness is one of the ones that you just cannot compromise. So many people say, I don't have time, I'm always busy. But saying you're busy and being productive are 2 completely different things. And I've found that when I stop saying I'm busy, I'm so busy, I am now more focused on saying I'm productive. I'm so productive throughout the day. I have so many things that I'm working on that are helping me be productive. I work less and I'm being more productive because of that energy that I'm putting into those thoughts. I'm not coming from a state of I need to be busy in order for me to feel like I'm getting something done. I'm now coming from a state of I am being productive, which is allowing me to really bring forward those tangible results that I want in my life. So whatever it is you're doing, I would encourage you to really sit down and ask yourself, what is something that brings me joy? What is something that brings me that passion? What is something that would really light me up, that would make me feel like I'm on top of the world, that is already going to help you completely change your frequency. And those thoughts that you're telling yourself, what are those thoughts? If you're constantly in a state of limiting beliefs, if you're constantly in a state of feeling unworthy, if you're constantly in a state of feeling like you're not going to find that ideal person or make that income that you're looking to, or that you're always attracting the bad people in your life, then so it shall be. Whatever you are thinking, you're bringing it into your existence. And if you don't know what the law of polarity is, it's like physics, okay? Like just like there's obviously the law that, talks about gravity and how things that come up have to come back down. Law of polarity is the same thing. You cannot have good without bad. And for most of us, we've been so conditioned to essentially isolate ourselves from the emotion of what you feel when you are in a state of feeling sad. So for most people, they feel sad and they go and they take a smoke, right? They want to smoke something to escape that feeling, or they want to go on a run, or they want to drink, or they want to go and connect with people that they don't really care about, but just to forget the person that they really care about. What you're doing in that moment is you're leaving yourself to be completely away from the emotion that you were supposed to feel. That was going to help you grow in that moment. And for most of us, we're just so quick to escape that we don't allow ourselves that moment to heal, to feel that emotion. Because a lot of people in manifestations, they think you have to always be positive. That's not true. There's going to be things that are going to happen in your life, but you're going to be able to react to them a lot differently from a state of understanding. Changing your beliefs, changing your thoughts, changing your feelings are going to play such a huge impact on how your manifestation journey plays out. So if you're looking to change your frequencies to attract better things into your external reality, start with the internal dialogue. What are you telling yourself every morning? How are you treating yourself? Are you making time for yourself? Are you caring for yourself? Are you caring for those things that matter the most to you? Time is precious. And when you understand that law of polarity that we just talked about, there's no good without bad, it's the same thing that makes you appreciate life. Knowing that there is an end to this at one point should make you appreciate life. When was the last time you told somebody that you really care about that you love them? When was the last time that you went to go hug that person that you really care about? When was the last time that you took that time to tell yourself these things and actually believe them? As you go within, you're going to find this completely new world that is going to allow you to change your external world. And things are just going to unfold for you beautifully. Believe that you have received it and it will be yours. With that being said, I thank you so much for listening to this entire podcast. I appreciate all the support. I've got some messages from you guys saying that you've been listening, and that honestly brings so much joy to me because I do all of this with the intention of wanting to elevate our consciousness, wanting to grow a community where we can be vulnerable and share things that are going to help us grow, not things that are going to keep us down. So I'm sending you much love. Once again, thank you for being here with us today, and I will talk to you on the next one.